No, Bev. I'll be honest with you. His undoing is he's a liar. Let me explain. There are other conservative prime ministers who have been pushed out because of their policies or because of political infighting. Margaret Thatcher over the poll tax, 1990. Theresa May, replaced by Johnson, 2019, because of bickering over what Brexit should be. Johnson was taken out, as your correspondent just noted, because he kept lying. He had lied about the breaking of coronavirus regulations over Partygate. He was put on a last chance warning last month with the no confidence vote that he barely survived. Stop it. And then he lied. And I'm using that word knowing what it means. He lied that he did not know about the sexual abuse allegations against this Foreign Office Minister, Chris Pincher. And that was it. That was the fact of, look, politicians are always in this for their self-interest, and we know that. You had a calculation here from many Tory MPs, which is we cannot go into the next election and keep our seats next year because no one trusts this guy anymore. And then I think there are politicians who do, at the end of the day, they have some sense of ethics and morality. And the fact is that dishonesty just cut to the bone because those allegations were so serious. And Johnson just kept trying to wave them away. And what everybody realized is he's not going to change. And in fact, in his speech, which we might discuss, his departure speech today, he didn't change. He blamed the herd instinct. He said the decision was eccentric. So the emperor, in the end, not only did he not have any clothes, he really didn't have any dignity.
Yeah. And he also talked in that exit speech saying that he had been pushing for more time because he wanted to fulfil the mandate he'd been given by that big electoral victory, plus the agenda that he wanted to fulfil. It's hard to believe that someone was still buying time at a point that he had reached.
Look, Boris's big asset, and the reason why he became prime minister, because it wasn't in terms of skill and management. It wasn't in terms of having a moral compass regarding policy. It was as a cheerleader. He got in on Get Brexit Done in 2019. Now, the cold reality in 2022 is that Brexit hasn't been done, or it hasn't been done well, as we are going to go into recession fairly soon and have cut ourselves off from Europe. But beyond that, and I'm trying to control myself here, but I'm trying to be an analyst.
Yes.
When Johnson said, look at my legacy, look at how much I got achieved. We were the fastest country to come out of coronavirus. 181,000 people in this country are dead on his watch because he mismanaged the pandemic. And yet he tried to convert it into some kind of victory. When he said we have the greatest infrastructure package in over a century, he pledged 40 hospitals in 2019 to get elected. None of them built. He pledged tens of thousands of doctors and nurses into our hospitals. Hasn't happened. He pledged investment in housing, education across the country leveling up. Has not occurred. And yet, either because he thinks he can get away with it or because he lives in alternate reality, he was telling us, this is my mandate. This is why it's so terrible that you're cutting me loose now.
Yeah. And not only that, he talked about the one politician, the one global politician that stood up to Putin. Even in the dying hours and days and weeks of his prime ministership, he was trying to save himself by trying to position himself as a global leader. Did that play at all, do you think? How do you perceive the way he was perceived on the world stage?
Well, let me give you something that I'm not sure made the international media that came out only 2 days ago. We have known for some time that in 2018, Boris Johnson met with Alexander Lebedev, who is allegedly connected with the KGB, very well-placed Russian businessman. He had hidden that and had denied it for years. He finally admitted this week, yes, I did meet Lebedev one-on-one alone when I was on a trip at the estate in Italy. Now, that's a security risk at the same time when you say he's leading versus Ukraine. But let's bring this back. To the extent that Boris Johnson could cheerlead in recent weeks to say support Ukraine, that plays to his strength. Let's acknowledge that. But the real work of getting support for Ukraine was coming out of the Defense Ministry, coming out of the Foreign Office, coming out of the diplomats. You know, and Boris Johnson simply was the figurehead on top of the Ukraine effort. So no, his departure does not mean that we are abandoning Ukraine. What we need is a government of competence to work with other competent governments to keep that effort going.
So how damaged is the Conservative Party? Because to your point about the emperor not wearing clothes, there were a lot of significant, talented people around him that continued to support and either pretended not to see it because he was the successful cheerleader or did not see it.
Oh, they enabled him. And you're absolutely right to bring this up, because it's easy enough to put the boot into Johnson today, and a lot of people will. The fact is for whatever reason, a lot of conservatives backed him in 2019 to be the face of Brexit. A lot of them continued to back him because they thought he would get them reelected next year, and they only began to bail out when it became clear that they were in electoral trouble. Now, can the party rebuild itself? Bev, let me be honest with you. I don't care if the Conservative Party rebuilds itself. What I care about is whatever party is here, Conservative, Labour, Scottish Nationalist, Plaid Cymru and Wales, Greens, be competent, be responsible. And the hope has to be here that Boris Johnson goes, not only because of the damage that was being done economically and politically, including the Conservative Party, but the damage which was being done simply to the fabric of this country in terms of decency and in terms of a core sense of being good to each other. That's got to be the hope that, well, it's going to take some time because we'll be in turmoil this summer, but that we can find that decency, whoever the next leader of the Conservative Party is, and whoever the party leaders are going into the next election.
Yeah. Scott, appreciate you joining us and not holding back. We love it when you don't. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Bev. Real pleasure.